Well, hey, church family, my name's Scott, and I'm one of the pastors on staff at Christian Assembly. And I want to talk about 5 different ways that you can live missionally during this COVID-19 crisis. We're experiencing a global pandemic that has left so many in need, right here in our city and all over the world. And as believers, we're called to step in the gap and to respond and to be the hands and feet of Jesus during this time. And although our circumstances have changed, the mission of God is still the same. We're called to both proclaim and demonstrate the good news of the gospel and point people to a greater hope in Jesus. And yet at the same time, we're called to also practice these guidelines of social distancing and staying at home to care and save lives amidst this pandemic as well. And so how do we get creative? How do we do practical actions while also abiding by these guidelines? And so the first thing I want to talk about is prayer. Prayer is what we need most in this time, yet it's a really hard time to pray because of the way that we've been isolated. And so I want to talk about 2 different types of prayer. Tim Keller, in his book on prayer, he talks about we have communion prayer, which is our relationship with God, worshiping Him, staying connected with Him. And then the second one is kingdom prayer, which is this belief that God changes things, that circumstances and outcomes can shift and change because of the faith and prayers of His people. And so in the midst of all of these needs, we are called to practice kingdom prayer as well, to really tangibly intercede for so many right now in this crisis. And if you're overwhelmed of even where to start of how to pray, I've laid out a 14-day kingdom prayer guide that you can follow along and pray for one of these partnerships a day. And some of these are global, some of these are local, but these are our kingdom partnerships that are having impact on the front lines all over the world amidst this COVID-19 crisis. The second thing you can do is you can start by helping those most vulnerable people groups. We're all being impacted by this right now, but some much more than others. For those who are elderly and 60 plus, those experiencing homelessness, those on the verge of economic crisis, and people in foster care system, all these vulnerable people groups, I've created a guide with the help of Sarah Dornbos to both, number one, look at how can we help these vulnerable people and how can people receive help. And so we've laid out really practical ways and resources for each of these different vulnerable peoples that you can take action steps on. And we can't help everybody. Not everybody can help everybody, but everybody's called to do something. And so pray through what would God be calling you to respond and how you can help those vulnerable in need right now. Number 3 is to love your neighbors. Who has God put around you? Both physically, those who you live by, as well as in your relational network, your sphere of influence. And start to pray through, God, in the people you've put around me in my life, how can I really love them as Jesus loved me? And I've created also a good neighbor bingo board that you can do for fun that really has really practical, easy ways that you can love your neighbor. And so you can share that with your life group. You can do that together and try to really outdo and love and spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Number 4 is we can utilize technology to reach out. Technology is a tool that we can get creative with and use. One idea is to ask God to bring to mind 5 names that you can reach out over video call to friends that you know and ask them, hey, how are you doing during this time? Ask really good questions and then pray for them. You can also join a social media campaign that we've been doing where you share your testimony in a couple minutes on social media and then you hashtag Jesus changed my life. And to join this movement with a lot of other churches that have been getting the gospel out and testimonies out through social media. Doug Schaup has also come out with a guide of how to use your hobby through technology to reach people as well. So you can click on this link as well to get that guide from Doug. And so lots of different ways that we can get creative and utilize technology in this time. Number 5, to give generously. For those who have plenty, let's give to those in need. And there's a variety of different ways that we can give. Giving to our kingdom offering, we support our missional efforts locally and globally that are on the front lines of this crisis. And you can see all the different ways that our kingdom partners are doing that in the prayer guide as well. But we need our missionaries need support. Our kingdom partnerships need support to continue to do the work of the ministry in this crisis. You can also give to the general offering that can go towards the CA Grocery Benevolence Fund that goes towards families within our congregation who are experiencing a job loss, have used their savings, and are really just in a desperate time of financial need. And lastly, you can donate groceries and supplies to our pantry and prayer drive-through outreach that we do to those in need as well. And so, as you're going about these different ways of living missionally, I'd love for you to share. Connect with me. I'd love to get together over on a Zoom call and just collaborate on how you're living missionally and how we can come alongside you as your local church. And I'd love to have us share stories as well of how people are living on mission and at what God is doing in the midst of this time. And so, love you, CA. Love you, church family. And may God bless you as you continue to follow him on mission.